Well, hey there, Richard here from Stuff You Can Do in Excel, Tableau, and Power BI. We're going to take a look at how to create dashboards in Tableau. And the first thing I thought I would just do is talk a little bit about dashboards in general. What is a dashboard? How do you use it? How do you create them? And I thought it would be useful before we actually get into Tableau and doing dashboards in Tableau. So what is a dashboard? Well, it's a tool that uses visualization of data to monitor performance in an organization. And it's usually used, you can bring it up on a monitor and leave it. It runs. Some of these dashboards will update automatically. It will be continuously updated so you can see sort of what's going on in different parts of the organization at any given point in time. Typically, a dashboard will be used by management who people who are in positions of responsibility because they have to monitor what's going on. It might be something as precise as monitoring temperatures in a nuclear reactor. It might be something like looking at traffic that's coming in and out of stores. It might be something as simple as sales on a daily basis. They can be created manually, and they can be updated either manually or periodically in batches or continuously, depending on the software you're using. Not only can you use things like Excel and Power BI and Tableau to create a dashboard, but you can also use things like R to create a dashboard. Those are all tools that you can use. I've got an example here from Power BI. This is a financial dashboard for the NCAA, which you might find interesting, and I got this off Power BI's website. So how do we create a dashboard? Well, the first thing you have to do is identify what it is you're wanting to show on the dashboard. We call these key performance indicators, or KPIs. You're going to hear that term a lot in management. KPI, these are the things that are critical, the measurements that tell you when things are going well and when they're not going well. So you identify the source of that KPI data, and then you would have to go get that data and use it to construct your visualization. Here's one for absenteeism at a company. I got this from datapine.com. So it gives you an example of average weekly attendance. You've got average absenteeism rate. You've got absenteeism over the last 5 years. You've got overtime hours. You got a lot of interesting data here that can be used to help you to manage the company to determine whether or not things are going well. I have a dashboard that I use here in the department to tell me whether or not our enrollment is what it ought to be and if we're accomplishing our enrollment goals. So you're going to use the visualizations that people will understand, that make sense to them. You might mix them up a little bit. It's okay to have all bar charts or all line charts. You just have to make sure you identify what they are so that people can understand what's going on in that dashboard. So the first thing would be, as I said, to identify the key strategic and operational KPIs. They're going to be different depending upon what it is you're trying to measure. Are you measuring operations, financial information, compliance, audit, manufacturing? What is it you're trying to measure? And for that, you would identify the KPIs for that particular activity. For example, things we use in the Department of Accounting, where I teach, I would use the number of new majors, the credit hours being generated on a semester basis, the number of students by class, the graduation rate, maybe the retention rate, and whether or not people are passing the CPA exam. Those would all be metrics that I might want to use in evaluating the progress and the performance within the department. Once I've identified my key strategic KPIs, I am going to identify the source of that KPI data. Does it come from Excel? Does it come from QuickBooks? Where does it come from another database? I get the information for my department from the university's database of information. What am I going to need to do to make it usable for my dashboard tool? I have to bring it into my tool. I have to set the data up and make sure it's structured right so that I can use it. In accounting, those AICPA standard financial data formats would be very helpful. For me, I just know what I want to do, and I've got to make sure the data comes in that's got the data I need to create the visualizations that I want to create. Are there going to be access restrictions to the data? How's it easy it going to be to get to it? What kind of access do I have to get or get permission for in order to use that data? And is there data confidentiality and security issues related to that data? So whoever's the custodian of that data is going to have it. Do they want me to have access to it? Does it create security issues? Does it have to be cleaned first and maybe edited before I get to use it for my purposes? Next, we will construct the dashboard in a separate file from the source file. So the source data should always be kept separate in a separate source data file. And then what you do is you construct a dashboard that accesses that data. So you also want to protect the data. You don't want just anybody to be able to edit that data. The data needs to stay true, and it needs to be able to be validated on a regular basis to make sure that it has not been changed. So you would use the dashboard tool to access the data, but the data will be separate from the dashboard tool. In Tableau, this is really easy. It's easy to do in Excel as well, and also with Power BI. So then we'll create and use visualizations that people will understand. Maybe it's bar charts, maybe it's a pie chart, maybe it's line charts, cluster diagrams, those kind of things. What kind of chart is going to convey the information I want? Avoid using certain kinds of charts just because they look cool. If they don't really convey the information that you're wanting to convey, you're really creating an inefficiency there. I use a lot of line charts and bar charts. Those make a lot of sense to me. The little speedometer charts, they're cute. I'm not sure how valuable they are. I like using the bar charts. I use a couple of pie charts, but not many. I use a pie chart when I show the percentage of my credit hours being generated, whether it's on campus or online. I use a pie chart for that. But again, pie charts are only used when you have less than 5 data points, right? If you have more than 5 data points, you do not want to use a pie chart. Then you want to build the dashboard and preferably have it update automatically. This can be easy or hard. As we're going to talk about in Tableau, depending on the way you save the dashboard, it may be updated automatically or it may not. If you save it as a .twb dashboard, then what will happen is every time I update my database, it'll update my dashboard. If I save it as .twbx, it's going to put the data file in with the dashboard, and unless I update the data file in that twbx file, it's not going to update. If I just update my original data file, it doesn't automatically update the .twbx file. So just remember that when you're doing Tableau. Okay, so common KPIs that you might use in accounting, for example, would be accounts payable, maybe accounts receivable. You want to look at number of accounts receivable, the average age, the age schedule, sales and unit sales, units produced, inventory levels. How about return on investment? That's a good one. Net income and gross profit would be good. Maybe sales by salesperson might be a good measure. Sales by stores might be a good measure. Year-over-year sales would be a good measure that you might want to use. All those are examples. Here's a dashboard, a cash dashboard I got from geckoboard.com. So you can see they've got things like the cash in the bank, the solvency ratio. They've got the burn rate for cash. You see expenses there, different types of expenses that they've got, their regular expenses, their fixed costs, their salary. I think it's interesting if you look at that fixed cost line, it's not totally flat. So they've got some variations in their fixed cost. So this is some data here that you could use to perhaps manage your cash flows in your organization. Now, eventually dashboards are changing. I prefer to have a dashboard on a single big monitor. My dream would be to have about a 65, 70-inch monitor in my office that I would run my dashboard on, and it would be solely dedicated toward that. Maybe it's not possible. I think in the future you're going to see augmented reality and virtual reality come into play with these dashboards. For example, I've got a picture here. They go to a particular machine and you can pull up the dashboard related to that machine in augmented reality. So you can see it depending on where you are in the company. You will visualize different dashboards for what you're looking at. How about a virtual dashboard that simply doesn't display just on a screen, but displays three-dimensionally in front of you, either on a glass screen or perhaps even by using glasses in the virtual reality glasses that you might have. Those would be things I think are coming in the future. I particularly like the augmented reality option that I believe is being developed now. the idea to go to an individual office or talk when I'm talking to an individual employee, I can pull up a dashboard about that employee's performance while I'm talking to them. I don't have to look down the screen. It's in reality. It's right there in augmented reality for me, right in front of my eyes. So those kind of things can be really helpful. So hopefully this was a good introduction to what dashboards are. Now let's dive into Tableau and see exactly how we might create a dashboard using Tableau.